name is Bryson, and today I'm going to be talking about how the recent surge of advancement in robotics has majorly affected what the workplace looks like and the dynamics therein. I'm going to be doing this by covering the changes the integration of robots has caused in a certain number of industries, as well as the effects on society those changes have had. But before getting into that, I would like to first start by defining what exactly it is that I mean by robotics and by describing the advancement that they've gone through. So if we take a look in the dictionary for the definition of robotics, we find this, that it refers to the branch of technology that deals with the design, construction, operation, and application of robots. Now admittedly, this is a pretty vague definition, but what it all boils down to is that robots are anything that are able to be programmed to perform complex actions on their own. Now when we hear the word robot, typically our minds jump to a stereotypical tin man that has been portrayed for decades. But in truth, robots come in many shapes and forms. Their looks vary based on what they're meant to do. They range from looking human to looking like this picture here on the right of a robot that me and my friend built over the summer. In short, they come in all shapes and sizes. And now, onto that advancement I mentioned. So this surge that I'm referring to is the massive spike in technological advancement that the field of robotics has seen over the past few years. In just a short amount of time, we've gone from that stereotypical tin man being the very best we had to offer, to now having robots that can assemble cars nearly completely on their own, disable bombs without us ever having to get close, and vacuum our floors without us having to be in the building. All of this advancement has had a profound impact on our world, and will continue to do so as innovations continue to happen. And as you can see here, this advancement has also led to a massive increase in the amount of money invested into the industry, with the global market size for industrial robots alone reaching $50.2 billion this year. And to see this money and the advancements in action, there's no better place to look than the manufacturing industry. Now this is because the usage of robots in the manufacturing industry has completely revolutionized manufacturing from the ground up, making the processes and methods used much more efficient and safer. The first and most crucial change that they caused is removing the need for humans to have to handle the raw materials that go into that will be manufactured down. As often these materials pose a number of hazards, be it chemical or physical, to human health that is no longer a concern thanks to robots. From there, they've drastically increased the efficiency at which the entire operation works with, by up to 85%, according to some sources. They use their superior speed, strength, and precision to get things done at times that would be impossible for any human to do. They've also removed health hazards that come along with repeatedly performing strenuous tasks such as those found on the assembly line, saving those workers from the possibility of getting injured or having pains for the rest of their life. And one of the more surprising effects they've had is that they've given those workers whose jobs they've replaced a chance to move up the ladder within the company. And now instead of being stuck on the production line and in a labor-intensive job, they will have a chance to oversee the production line. In essence, robots have streamlined the manufacturing process and allowed those who once worked for the assembly line to now be the ones overseeing it. And as will soon become clear, it is a trend among all industries that robots are used in. Now the next industry I want to take a look at is the medical industry. Now obviously, due to the rather delicate nature of this field, the ways in which robots can be used is fairly limited at the time. But despite this, their presence has still managed to have a major impact. They've been used to aid in surgeries, eliminating stray cuts made by the shaky hands of surgeons, monitor patients when nurses and doctors can't be around, keep patients company, handle routine tasks, as well as many more things. One of the best and most significant impacts they've had is that they can take care of the mundane but necessary tasks that are normally taken care of on a day-to-day basis by doctors and nurses, freeing up their precious time to be better spent with their patients. Out of all the fields of work, the medical field is the one that stands the most to gain from further advancements in robots, with them being able to become more and more involved as they become more and more advanced. And now the last of the industries I want to take a look at today is the agricultural industry. Now this is the outlier of industries that we are going to look at, because robots have been extremely slow to be used in agriculture, which is rather surprising considering the number of repetitive tasks involved in growing food that would be a perfect fit for robots. But the difference between agriculture and the other industries that we've looked at is the amount of independence often involved with it. While manufacturing and medical fields are full of massive corporations with massive budgets, the agriculture industry is made up more of independently owned farms who do not have the budget to invest in such expensive technology. And this lack of demand has had a ripple effect, meaning since there is such a minimal amount of demand, there is now a minimal amount of time and money spent into further developing specialized robots for agriculture, as there would be no one to buy the products. However, this past precedent is starting to change as changes in the labor market and several other key factors have increased the need for robots more and more within growing food. So while robots have yet to have an impact on agriculture to the same scale as manufacturing and medical fields, with their presence becoming more and more of a requirement, it is only a matter of time before the food industry sees a revolution similar to the others. As we've now explored a few of the industries robots are used in, and the impacts that they've had, a clear trend is formed. Wherever robots go, performance enhancement follows. And this trend is not exclusive to these industries that we've looked at, extending to all others. But why is this important? Well, it's important because all of this goes to prove that using robots and automated systems, we can streamline the way that we go about getting work done and achieve more faster. However, all of these benefits don't come without a cost. As robots have become more and more prevalent in the world, so too has the debate over their usage. And this debate takes on two intertwining categories, the first of which is the ethical sense. Now, there are a number of ethical concerns that have arisen if robots become more common in the workplace. The most prominent of which is job displacement. Now, while I briefly mentioned this while talking about the manufacturing industry, unfortunately, the side effect is not exclusive to the production line. Everywhere they're used, they take away at least some aspect of someone's job, for better or for worse. And as they become more advanced, they will continue to take more and more responsibility from that person. Now, while this does often lead to better performance, that doesn't change the fact that we're taking away someone's way of life. And although, yes, it's true that the increase in the presence of robots also mean that the increase in the number of jobs involving robots, these positions will be few and far in between compared to the amount of lost jobs due to robots. And on top of this, many of these jobs will require a level of education that will be expensive to obtain, making those just freely out of a job harder and harder to get. And now the next concern I want to look at is over safety. So while it's true that robots are extremely proficient at certain tasks, they are limited to being able to do the task they were built for, and that task only, which means that inevitably a human will have to make up for what the robots can't. In environments like the assembly line, where robots are massive and moving extremely quickly, and they don't have a care in the world for what's in front of them, that means that there's a chance of the workers getting seriously injured or they to accidentally get in the way. Thankfully, there are countless safety precautions that must be in place before robots are allowed near workers, which has led to such a low number of injuries. As you can see, only 40 incidents were reported last year. However, the possibility is always there. And the last ethical concern I want to take a look at today is the environmental impact all this is causing. Now, I want to start off by saying this one is different from the rest because these systems simply haven't been in place long enough and to a large enough extent for this type of impact to become truly noticeable on the environment. So for now, all we can do is take a look at what we know and consider what could happen, which is still extremely important to do with as delicate as our environment has become. So what we do know is that as automated systems are expanded, as they are sure to do, that the systems will become more and more streamlined, which means that waste and emissions will decrease as well, which right off the bat seems like a great thing, and it is. But that streamlining also means that availability will likely increase, increasing the amount of consumption. And as consumption increases, so too will the waste and emissions, no matter how efficient they're made. And so this consumption could reach a point to where that it negates the streamlining and continues to harm the environment. And again, I want to reiterate, there's no way to know exactly how all of this will play into climate change and the environment, but it's still something that's important to take into consideration. And as typically the case with ethical questions, there is no clear-cut answer. But despite this, the benefits and enhancement these systems have already made, and knowing that they will only get better as time goes on, makes it hard to argue why they shouldn't continue to be advanced and integrated further into the workplace. However, ethical concerns are not the only ones brought up against robots. There are financial concerns as well. And that's because all of this cutting-edge technology does not come cheaply, and that high cost has impacts of its own. The main consequence of these systems is the disparities that they could cause within the fields. These robots are anything but cheap, and in order for them to cause any of these benefits, there have to be a lot of them, which doesn't seem so bad at first because they'll pay quickly for themselves now that all the workers are gone. Except that there will still be high installation costs. You'll have to hire new people to maintain the robots and have to hire people to program them for them to be of any use. So in truth, they won't be paying for themselves quite as quick as many would think. They definitely still will, and likely pay much more in the end, but there'll be a significant gap in time between paying for them, installing them, and making a profit on them. Now for massive corporations, this isn't much of a problem. They have these massive budgets. They can deal with this, no problem. But for smaller businesses, this can be a massive ordeal. And so not having this technology could mean that they fall behind their competitors. But getting it could put them out of business. So while this technology does work wonders, it also means that only a certain few can reap the full benefits. And now, just to reiterate everything that I've said, robotics have changed the way that the workplace will look forever. With now collaboration between workers and machines being the ideal way to work. And while they don't come without their fair share of costs, both in the physical sense and the ethical sense, the benefits they provide has proven to far outweigh the negatives so far. We should approach them cautiously, as they are still an emerging technology that we still don't fully understand. But appreciate all the good that they have done